This is going to be a spoiler review because there are things in this film and the plot that I'm going to have to dissect and explore with you pertaining to this film and its plot and everything else. So just a heads up. Don't Worry, Darling is one of the few films that I'm aware of that didn't really have too much hype going into it as its own thing. The biggest hype for this film was all of the public controversy that especially Olivia Wilde drew up for herself in the public eye for her own personal life. Mainly with her being the whole Shia LaBeouf thing where he actually exposed the fact that she ended up being a liar, saying that she fired him for basically having rape vibes and whatnot towards Florence Pugh and whatnot. But then Shia LaBeouf came back with receipts and screenshots showing that not only did he quit due to scheduling conflicts, but Olivia Wilde, literally video chatted him saying, "Oh, boo, I want you in this film, I need you." And then alongside that, we have The Minors, where Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde got together after she probably cheated on Jason Sudeikis with Harry Styles, and now it doesn't seem like they're a thing anymore after this film finished being filmed, which, typical Hollywood. And then we also had the whole controversial video of Harry Styles potentially spitting on Chris Pine randomly at a film show for Don't Worry, Darling. Newsflash, it's clear as day that he did in fact spit on Chris Pine. I don't know the history between those two and the filming of this or even backstory before this. All I know is the video that I saw, Harry Styles definitely 100% without a doubt spit on Chris Pine. With that, Chris Pine's reaction after the fact, I understand that both of their PR teams came out and respectfully declined the theory being accurate. Honestly, Harry's PR team was clearly just trying to clean up his mess he made. Chris Pine's PR team is just as gentlemanly as he acted that night, where he literally just brushed it off and kept smiling and clapping. Now that we got the reality part out of this, let's get into the film itself. Don't Worry, Darling, to simplify it as simple as I can make it, Don't Worry, Darling is basically if Jordan Peele wrote and directed The Truman Show in like 99 or something. It's a very well directed and extremely well acted film that by the end of it completely divulges into nothing but a super leftist propaganda of misogyny and actually some misandry too, but mostly misogyny. So going back to say like the Black Widow film, where the entirety of the villain was about controlling women and didn't really get fleshed out at all. It was literally just older straight white dude just controlling women since they were kids. Don't Worry, Darling has Chris Pine as technically one of the villains, and at least in Don't Worry, Darling, the writing actually fleshes all of the characters out. But by the end of the film, the third act especially, just completely diverts all of the character depth that we got to from the beginning and just makes it man, bad, okay. They're trying to brainwash and kill women, bad. And that ends up being Don't Worry, Darling. Now, I think Olivia Wilde, for how trash of a human being I think she is now, honestly, I think she's actually a really good, competent director. And like I said, all of these actors and actresses in the entire film, they did their part fully. The biggest issue I have with Don't Worry, Darling, not even the writing by the end of the film, which the writing was fine up until about the halfway through the second, all the way to the end of the film. The biggest problem I have with this is just the story creation. The writers that plotted this film, that made a plot to write within, the story is just dog shit cliche. As I stated, this is basically a Jordan Peele directed Truman Show with a bunch of super leftist misogyny agendas by the end of it. I was honestly actually really invested in this film up until halfway through the second act to the end. I thought it was competent enough because it was directed solidly, but by the halfway point, I was just like, this is literally just cliche, trying to break out of character of what they created for a world. And that's fine, but the problem, as I stated, the writing of it turned into super misogyny. And you can have misogyny or misandry in it, but you have to have a lot of depth to be able to showcase that this isn't an agenda. This film turns into just a horrible, politically fueled agenda. And like I said, outside of the public controversy and even the agenda, the first half of the film I thought was fine, just because of the direction, the visual styles, and the acting above all. Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, Chris Pine especially, they all do their jobs. I really love Chris Pine as an actor, not just because he's an excellent actor, but because he could be the most woke leftist out there. But you never hear from him. That's what I love about actors. They need to do their job. If they're asked a question, answer the question and leave it at that. Most Hollywood celebrities, they need their extra 15 minutes of fame, so they go on for 45 minutes of a rant about how straight white males are just nonstop racist without even talking to them. They just automatically assume. I hate actors and actresses that do that shit. Luckily, Chris Pine doesn't do that, and that's why I respect him and love him as an actor. I want to see Chris Pine in a lot more films and TV shows than I usually do. I see him in maybe one movie a year, and every time he's an excellent actor. Harry Styles and Florence Pugh and Olivia Wilde, they do their jobs as well in the acting department. Harry Styles, I'm not entirely sure if this was his first feature film that he acted in. Now, the beginning of this film to about the halfway point, they didn't really give him much to go on acting-wise, so that's not entirely his fault, but by the end of the film, his character does end up getting fleshed out, honestly to the negative, but his acting performance actually does end up shining. Florence Pugh still is a huge standout in this film. So I think I've made myself very clear that just because this film is around a main character being a woman does not mean that I hate this film simply because of that. There are a lot of parts I absolutely fucking hate about this film, and none of the reasons are because of that. And I think I've made myself very clear on that. The biggest problems I have objectively are the agenda-fueled writing, and just the story above all has just been there, done that, constantly, all the time. Like, at least one every 5 years we get this kind of story. And as I said, The Truman Show did it basically perfectly. And comparing this to The Truman Show, honestly, I find that commendable. And the fact that I compared Olivia Wilde's direction to Jordan Peele, I find very commendable for her as well. But above all, you can't direct a piece of shit. It's just a piece of shit in the end. Now, that's not to say this is a horrible, terrible, no good, awful film, because it's not. Like I said, I had some entertainment out of it. It has some value, but above all, it's lacking a lot of things, and definitely not problems. It has a lot of problems by the end of the film. So overall for me, Don't Worry Darling is a 6 out of 10. Thank you.